Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today we're taking a look at King's Kilt, a game that is put out by Eagle Gryphon Games, designed by Gordon Hamilton. It is basically a game where you're trying to get your family members to ascend to the throne of Scotland as efficiently as possible, using as much guile and intrigue and backstabbing as possible, more often than not. So basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to have three families that you are going to want to see on top of the pyramid by the end of the game, and you are going to try to maneuver, play cards, make people ascend the throne as cleverly as possible so that your three family are in the top three levels of the pyramid by the game's end. So let's get down to the table. I'll show you how it works, and then we'll come back in a few moments with just a few final thoughts. So here I have a 4-player game of King's Kilt set up for you. Each player is going to first of all be given their family cards, which are the clans that they want to see in either the King's position or the Guardians or Noblemen positions, because they will be scoring them points. Then on top of that, there is also going to be 4 cards given to each player, in which these are family member cards, which are going to be used in betraying other family members and so forth and so on. You only have 4 of these for the entire game, so you do have to be very judicious on when you can use these. As you play the game of King's Kilt, you're going to be basically ascending these different family crests to up the pyramid to hopefully take the position of the crown if you are playing your cards right and playing the correct family members. On your turn, there's 2 ways that you can ascend the throne. You can simply advance a player, which is moving them diagonally up the pyramid. If you do that, you have to make sure that there is at least 1 card underneath them that they can rest upon. So, for example, MacLeod is done here until there is somebody else that goes to this position, and then possibly he could move up again. But whenever you have a person ascend the pyramid, it leaves a vacuum that needs to be filled. And so if this were the case where MacLeod wants to move up this way, then a card is drawn from the top of the deck and replaces him down here. Another way for you to ascend the throne is by using influence to betray another clan card. So down in the lower part, the lower 3 levels of the pyramid, you can use any one of your influence cards to affect any one of the members that are down there. So if I wanted to, I could play this Macbeth card right down here and say Wallace is going to take out MacLeod, and then Wallace is going to move to the throne. Doesn't have to be this. He could move Hamilton up there if he wanted to, and then the void is filled like so. This one is done, and so is this one. Further on in the game, when you have a case where a vacuum, more than 1 vacuum is created, the person has to choose which one to go. So if I choose to have Wallace move up here like this, I can choose if Hamilton or Buchanan is going to go. So I really want Hamilton because I have these guys over here. So Hamilton will come up here, and then another one will fill this void down here. And then once we get to a phase where we could possibly be affecting the top 3 rows with those influence cards, then you have to play a card that exactly matches the clan that you're using to do the betrayal. So for example, I'm going to use my Buchanan card here to influence this clan member to take off this clan member, and then I'm going to move my guy, Hamilton, into that position. And then this card comes back, and then you also must continue to refill those positions. So I'm going to go ahead and move my other Hamilton guy up here like this. And then, let's see here. This is really a no help. Well, Buchanan helped me out a little bit there, so I'm going to go ahead and move him up. and then that void is filled like so. Once the pyramid has been completed and a king has been crowned, the game is not over just yet, but it does introduce another possibility on a player's turn. They could, if they are happy with the kings, the king, the guardians, and the nobleman rows, if they're happy with that, they can just pass. If you pass, though, you're done for the game, and you're just simply waiting around. And now, once all players have passed, because they have gotten to a point where their influence cards doesn't really help them advance their own clans in the pyramid, everybody has passed, then we come to final scoring. So, if we look at this card here, it says very clearly, at game's end, reveal your 3 family cards. Score 3 points for each matching the king, 2 points for each matching the guardian, and 1 point for each matching the nobleman. All right, so if we go around the table here, starting with player 1, he wanted Hamilton, Bruce, and Stewart in those positions. So he has 1 Stewart here, which is getting him 1 point, but that's it. He did not fare very well in this game. The second player here wanted Hamilton, Wallace, and Stewart in those positions. So we have 1 Guardian, that is a Wallace, and 1 Nobleman, that's a Wallace, so that's 3 points together, and then 1 Stewart as well, so he came away with 4 points. Not bad. Then over here, player 3 wanted Bruce, Buchanan, and MacLeod. So he has MacLeod as king, that's getting him 3 points, and then he has a Buchanan here as a nobleman getting him 1 point, so that's 4 points altogether as well. And then finally over here we have player 4 wanted Douglas, Macbeth, and MacLeod. So we have the king giving him 3 points, and then this person giving him 2, so that's 5. And then there are no Macbeths in the top 3. So with 5 points, player 4 is the winner. And that's how you play King's Kilt. So one thing that I really didn't kind of cover in depth, I mentioned that you could do it, but I didn't really show you exactly how in detail, and that is when you betray somebody, the person that gets betrayed has to be the neighbor of the member that is doing the betrayal. So if you have a card in this position, he can go in any of the diagonal positions, but he can also go in the same row as well. So that's something to keep track of, because those clan members who are going to betray somebody else, they do have a pretty good reach on a number of different positions there, depending upon where that clan member is in the pyramid. So I just wanted to mention that. Now, some pros and cons about the game are, first of all, I think the theme is interesting. Even if you have only dabbled a little bit into Scottish history, and really that's where I am, only a very little bit. This is a really interesting situation, not the most encouraging situation of all, because you basically have all of these families that are biting, clawing, scratching, and stabbing their way to the top, and that's pretty much how this game feels. It's not a very nice game at all. There are a number of different ways that you can really mess over your opponents, but that's all in the spirit of the game, correct? So I did enjoy the gameplay of it. It was tense. It was thought-provoking because the people, even when you fill the vacuum, the people that you ascend to fill those different spots that were just vacated matter, because you could be giving somebody the ability to betray one of your guys that you just moved up there by moving the wrong family member up inside that pyramid. So there's a lot of different levels of thinking that have to go on here, but at the same time, it is not so heavy of a game where you get bogged down thinking about what you should do, or rethinking what you shouldn't do, or whatever you want to say there. So I like that tension, but still it stays on a very light level, and that's a good thing. Another pro of the game is the graphic design. While it's not a beautiful game, it is rather harsh, it still has a very thematic look to it, and it has a very strong Scottish feel. All of the different family patterns that would be worn on the kilts are on these cards, and while this is a good thing, I like it. Some of them were very similar looking. For example, Wallace and Hamilton here, I know that they are two different colors of red, so to speak, but those are very similar, especially if they're laying on the table on the other side there. It might be a little bit difficult. Same thing with maybe Stuart and Macbeth here, just very similar looking patterns. Another pro of the game is that it has those influence cards. I like those influence cards. They are kind of your ace in the hole, so to speak. So if you waste them too early in the game, you're going to find yourself really hurting from that at the end of the game. And if you can hold off using them, you have a whole lot of power, especially if everybody has already passed because they have no more cards left and you're sitting with all 3 or 4 of yours. Well, that can be a pretty cool situation to have yourself in at that point. So I like the influence cards. That was a huge pro for me because I thought that it gave another level of very light complexity to the game that I enjoyed a lot. A couple of pros is that, well, I already mentioned this, but it's a mean game. And so you do have to be kind of picky and choosy about who you're going to play this game with, because you can really, really mess somebody up to the point where they don't get any points from the entire game. Now, it's a short game, which I guess could be another pro, but the game doesn't last any more than 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, so it's not like you're really messing over their night or anything like that, but at the same time, some people just don't warm to mean games like others do, so you do have to be kind of careful there. So that's a little bit of a light con. I didn't have that much trouble with it, but it was a very fun. I played it with a bunch of teenagers one time, and it was a hilarious time. We actually played it twice in a row. So it's a great game for that kind of setting. But if you have somebody that's maybe a little bit more thin-skinned than everybody else, you might not want to put this one on the table with them because it could get their feelings hurt. Maybe not, but you never know until you try, right? Well, that is about it. I think all in all, this is a very fun game. It's a great filler game. It's going to stay in my collection. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10 as far as a filler game is concerned. I really enjoyed the pyramid-esque nature of it where you're ascending to the throne. I like the backstabbing that can happen. I like the different thought patterns that have to go into what person fills what void when you are filling the vacuum of the other people ascending to the throne. So there's just a lot of good things and not a whole lot of bad things about this game, in my opinion. So I really enjoyed it. I had a great time. If you haven't tried it or if you haven't seen it, by all means, go give it a try and take a look at it. As I always say, try before you buy, because you might like it differently or you might hate it completely, and that would be the opposite of what I'm saying here. So try before you buy, but I think it's a great little filler game, very fun, and it can really liven up a night. That's it from me, 8 out of 10 for King's Kilt. We'll see you guys on the flip side.